Okay, now we're connected up. And let's try to go live again.
All right, from the top.
All right. Let's keep an eye on it. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We had some technical issues there.
Hey,
So Facebook wasn't being friendly with us and our stream. So I think we're back on. Just keep an eye on that there, Ross. And
so
I'll just
far
kind of start
so.
again. If you missed the intro or if it just got wrecked or some way, welcome to the episode 84. Today's episode, we're going to share 3 questions that we believe could completely blow open portals of reality for you. And in doing so, it's going to expand your ability to become unstoppable in whatever area of life you choose. We're also going to explore how your what I call your biology of uniqueness could be a critical component to our global issues. And if that's not enough, you're definitely going to want to stick around because we're going to also dabble in the topic of biohacking for total self-empowerment. So episode 84, Hacking the Infinity Matrix. Today the topic is 3 steps from misunderstood to self-empowered icon. We believe that we are at and more people we speak with, there's more confirmation of this, that we're actually at what we believe to be an intersection of human history, where we're at this place where we can go one direction or another for the reality we all choose to step into. And we've mentioned it in past streams that as a global community, we're at this stage of transformation. And those who are not prepared could be in for some tough and rough times, right? And we notice that more and more people are telling us how they feel just misunderstood, right, by those around them, that they notice that the more they interact with others, it becomes so apparent that they just don't fit the typical mold. Can you feel and sense that for yourself? Maybe you knew it your whole life, right? I'm one of those people, or maybe you've just come into awareness and acceptance of those facts that you just don't fit the mold, right? And if that's you or someone you know, it's critical that you seek out the tools, the resources, the guidance, whatever you need to live more authentically and avoid getting smothered by the steady onslaught of the negativity and the fears and all the stuff that's floating around out there that can hinder your ability to live life more authentically.
That's very true. I mean, we've seen a growing trend of people who have found their passion and purpose and are much more inspired to go out and make a change in the world. If that's you, maybe you've noticed that in certain cases. It's like the world isn't ready to see you for who you truly are yet. So, what do you do? What are your resources that you can get access to? What are those steps to going from misunderstood to being the self empowered icon the world needs you to be right now? These are the things we plan to share with you in today's stream. And if you implement what you learn, you may very well find that you can shift reality in your favor. So before we leap into the deep end today, um, let's see who's here. Who's here still? Who made it back? Who waited for us? Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from today. What city? What country? We put a lot of energy and love into the development of these live streams, and it's always appreciated when you can see the corners of the planet. The planet doesn't have corners. What are we talking? Well, how come I'm saying corners of the planet? What's slope of
Yeah.
the planet that our messages are reaching, and it's ever growing. Our community is growing, and it's tapped into an awakening and the evolution that we're all right on the cusp of right now. So know that you are here. You aren't here by accident. That you've been guided by some higher force to tune in. So maybe, just maybe, there's at least one gem that you could take away from your next level of living on purpose. So stick around because we got some great stuff today. This is going to be a really, really good show.
Yeah, we see got Patty from Louisville.
There you go.
We got Sharon from New Hampshire, Lorna from Scotland. There's a delay on my end, so and if you're showing up and putting the comments here,
Patty from Louisville. Did you get that one? Yeah,
that's awesome.
So,
and we should mention also that you do also get another weekly opportunity to dive into live interaction with questions and answers with an assortment of enlightening topics. And on the odd occasion, you might even get some one-on-one coaching, right? And that happens on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's a live Zoom call where you can just go what we call down the rabbit hole with us and talk about everything from emotions to spirituality to purpose and self-image, really just about anything in the realms of spirituality, personal development, scientific evolution, all those things. It's a lot of fun. And all you have to do is three things. Number one, register a Zoom link. Let me put it up on the screen here. And where are we? For rabbit hole. Okay. So register at the Zoom link scrolling on the bottom, hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/rabbit hole. That's the first step. Just go there and you register for the Zoom link. Second step is schedule your reminders for Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And third is to jump on the call, right? Show up and jump on the call. Let's have some fun. And again, it's hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/rabbit hole. Just register for the Zoom link. It'll be sent to your email. If you don't see it right away, check your junk or spam folders, and then just accept our email as whitelisted and okay.
Yeah. So and it's also, I don't know if Gary said it, but it's a free call. It's just a great interaction. Lasts about an hour, so it's just a lot of fun. It can get really deep. I'll just tell you that. It can get very, very deep. So let's start off with a great quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It goes, "To be great is to be misunderstood." And he understood that for most of your life, it's been a whirlwind of outside looking in. People just don't get you. Friends and family always consider you the black sheep, the odd one, the outlier, the misunderstood shadow in the corner. So today's live stream, we are going to break through to thinking outside the conditioned operating system of the Infinity Matrix. You're going to want to stick around, get today's hack, 3 simple questions that could completely blow open portals of reality and expand your ability to become unstoppable. So have you ever heard of biohackers? It's been a growing rage. These are cutting edge thinkers made up mostly of professionals, amateurs, and yes, a few wackos. And the quantitative health movement has been growing exponentially for the last 10 to 12 years. And now I'm seeing ideas that were first broached prior to this time frame. And these ideas are resurfacing because the market is ready for it. We've actually become more informed that we're not informed. Think about that. Okay. So although a similar philosophy, and don't get this confused with transhumanism, biohacking is the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside you. So you have full control over your own biology and your performance. Where transhumanism, or grinders as it's loosely called, is physically augmenting the body for better performance or convenience. In other words, adding or inserting some type of technology on or into the body. Both variations have merit, and I'm happy to announce that biohacking will be the topic of one of our upcoming master labs very, very soon. I'm very excited. So since biohacking is a passion of mine that I have been involved with for more than a decade now, it's really not what I want to talk about today. Well, kind of. Well, maybe, partly.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of it as the biology of your uniqueness.
That's good.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you think about it, that may be the very well may be the critical thing that we need on this planet to activate, appreciate, and unleash to resolve the global issues that we have right now, and what we'll potentially experience in the future. So what do I mean by biology of uniqueness? Well, if we look back at Darwin's theory of evolution, where every individual is a little different because of natural mutation, which would imply that nature selects for and it prefers the outlying traits of an organism. Because it's the outliers, as Ross mentioned, it's the outliers that seem to be able to adapt better and increase chances of survival. It's the species with the extra digit, right? The longer neck, the different pigment count that can give a species the edge for survival and thriving in the game of evolution, right? The problem with the human species is that we've set up certain expectations that are generated from collective norms. And we've done it in just about every aspect of life. And those expectations tend to cap, they put a cap on variety and exceptionalism. Somewhere along the timeline, we decided to look at the qualities that seem to be the norm in the culture or society and use that as the benchmark for success and achievement. Okay, and I know from speaking with a few of you, and I can assume from just those conversations that there's many of you out there that are part of a culture that says you need to get a certain type of education. You know what I mean? Right? Or that you need to get a certain type of job. You need to earn a certain type of income. You need to marry a certain type of person. And even the time and the order of the accomplishments of those things has been set and accepted by most in that culture. This is what I call the safe zone of living. Okay, it's where complacency and status quo set in and set into our mindset as a result. It becomes an accepted reality experience where and there does seem to be a certain type of people, certain type of person who are just conditioned to fit nicely into that pattern of reality. Right? They just go along. It's that they feel obliged to conform to the expectations of others. And at least on the surface, they don't seem bothered by it. And they're content to go where the herd leads. Right? That's the spiritual experience and journey they've set out to experience, and that's okay. There's no judgment around it here. We just want you to be aware of where you're at and what's going to empower you. Because there are many of you who feel deep down inside that there's more to your doing, your being, and your living in these times. But because of built up fears, lack of self-worth, or unaccessed personal empowerment, you never do enough to break free from the shackles holding your spirit back, and you just go on living life, living lives of misery and despair. Then there are those of us, and I'm totally self-proclaimed in this category. Everybody can choose where they fit. There are those of us who always felt from an early age that we just don't think, feel, act, or experience in reality the way others do. Okay? We're the misfits, the contrarians, excuse me, the ones who rock the boat. Okay? We leap when logic says we shouldn't. Okay? And we dare to be exceptional in our own unique ways. This is when the biology of your uniqueness DNA strand is activated and turned on. Okay, now there isn't really a scientifically, as far as I know, there isn't really a scientific uniqueness DNA that we can label. It's
But we
just
will find it.
terminology. It's just metaphor. So I just want to be clear that we're not scientists. That's our disclaimer. And if we reference back to biology and evolution, okay, we can quickly recognize that as far back as life has existed on Earth, it doesn't matter the life form, that in biology, it's the outlying regions of the spectrum that create the breakthroughs and the adaptations for further evolution.
Exactly. So this is one of the aspects of a biohacker. Their mindset, their philosophy of thought. It's an innovator's thinking attitude. Innovators, which are mostly comprised of the outliers, the oddities, the nerds, the bohemians, and the misunderstood, all with a common goal: to strive towards improvement and performance of themselves. So, I mean, here's an example. This was something that Steve Jobs based his whole company's philosophy on. Think differently. His premise was brilliant because everyone believes that they are unique, or at least wants to be considered unique. And for good reason. The misfits, the rebels, and the troublemakers all saying we must constantly look at things in a different way. Just when you think you know something, you must look at it in a different way. Even though it may seem silly or wrong, you must try, daring to strike out and find new ground. All, if not most, outliers are generally change makers at some level, utilizing their uniqueness to their advantage, rather than the norm of perceiving it as a curse or an abnormality. I just don't fit in. You know, Gary and I, we revel in our uniqueness and consider each and every one of you a unique human individual creating a unique human experience. So when it comes to mindset, only a few researchers come to my mind, and among them is Dr. Carol Dweck. And she puts it like this: there are growth mindsets and there are fixed mindsets. The fixed mindset assumes that our character, our intelligence, and creative ability are static. They are givens or norms, which we can't change in any meaningful way. And your level of success affirms that inherent intelligence, an assessment of how those givens measure up against an equally fixed standard. Striving for success and avoiding failure at all costs becomes a way of maintaining the sense of being smart or skilled. In short, it's the idea that you think you are conditioned as you are and it can't be changed. What we call conditioned operating system relatively exists within the framework of the fixed mindset. It's a given set of thought with fixed parameters. This is as far as I can go. And that reinforces the limiting thought process what guides your lives. But however, I just really, really want everyone to understand this. Please, please understand. This is not permanent. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. As where a growth mindset, on the other hand, it thrives on change and sees failure not as evidence of unintelligence, but as a heartening springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. And out of these two mindsets, which we manifest from a very early age, springs a great deal of our behavior, our relationship with success and failure in both professional and personal contexts, and ultimately, your capacity for happiness. So, with that in mind, which do you think you are?
And Patty Mills says, I'm definitely a misfit, the different one, the crazy one in my family circle. Here, here, here.
Or
It's very challenging, but I have to be me. Yes, 100%. I'm still standing. There's such strength and persistence within me.
beautiful.
Absolutely. And as the rest of you are asking, which one do you fit into? You got to ask yourself, what is your uniqueness? What's the uniqueness gene that makes you stand out from the norm? And I think, this should be a dedicated class in high school for all kids.
Yeah.
It should be a highly valued subject to pursue the quest of figuring out your uniqueness gene, to strip away any layers of those societal expectations instead of adding to them, which is what happens in that teenage realm, in that school environment, right? Instead of adding to those societal expectations and strengthening them, those layers become shrouds that alter your perceptions of possibilities. And when those expectations are set, they begin to develop fears of not fitting in, quote unquote, fears of being different, fears of making mistakes, and even fears around following your passion and purpose if it doesn't seem to fall into the what I call safe zone. Right? And what we want to do, and what we want you to do, is to poke holes in those layers of expectations and question, what's your true calling? The thing that brings every part of you to life when you engage in it. And are you doing that in your life right now? And here's how you can assess if you are. Okay? Answer the question. If you stopped doing what you're doing now, what major way or ways would the world lose out? Think about that. Really contemplate it. If you stopped doing what you're doing now as a career or as a passion, as a contribution to the human race, to the planet, to the universe, if you stop doing that now, what major way or ways would the world or the people of the world or the animals of the world lose out? And if your answer is that there wouldn't be much of a difference, maybe it's time to look for something else to do.
Very good. Okay, so did you decide which one do you think you are? A couple of people have put some ideas, their thoughts in the comments, but there's more of you out there. So be sure, if you're watching this on the replay, put in hashtag replay along with your answer. That way the system will immediately tell us that that you have a comment there, and then we can relate to it. So let's look at some famous examples from history in the modern day to better exemplify our point. And maybe you can identify with one or two of them. So Galileo, very famous one. He was yearning for the expansion of truth and knowledge. And it resulted in being tried and convicted in 1633 for publishing his evidence that supported the Copernican theory that the Earth revolves around the sun.
He was just a wacko. Whatever. Don't believe him.
Freaking misfits, man, I'm telling you. His research was instantly criticized by the fixed Catholic Church for going against the established conditioned scripture that places Earth and not the sun at the center of the universe. So he was found heatedly suspect of heresy and for his heliocentric views, and was required to abjure, curse, and detest his own opinions. And then he was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life, just for being a little bit different.
Sticking with his guns, right? That is sticking with his guns and not,
that's exactly. So Raz was a medical pioneer from Baghdad who lived between or around 860 AD. And he was responsible for introducing Western teachings, rational thought, and the work of Hippocrates and Galen to the Arabic world. His book, Continens Liber, was a compendium of everything known about medicine. And the book was brilliant, but it offended the fixed minds of Muslim priests who ordered the doctor to be beaten over the head with his own manuscript, which caused him to go blind and then obviously prevented him from continuing on and to further practice medicine. And then one of the greats everybody knows, Leonardo da Vinci, who was biologically different from practically all other humans. The dude was an alien. I'm serious. So according to research, Da Vinci's brain was the perfect balance of right and left hemispheres with a superhighway for a corpus callosum. It was so advanced that his understanding of all things in nature and his grip on personal creative ability allowed him to access unique ways of thought. He saw universal interconnectedness in everything, everywhere. He was thought to be biologically advantaged by some quirk of nature. And Da Vinci elevated his mind to a higher state of consciousness.
Maybe there is a uniqueness, Gene Ross. We should look into that.
I'm thinking about it. See, we just came up with another idea. You know why? Because we're unique. Hey, so Da Vinci, to this day, he is thought to have been evolved into a superhuman. And there's no real controversy that ever followed him. Why? Because his growth mindset allowed him to be very astute at diplomacy and walking that fine line. His brilliance allowed him to work within the existing system. Listen to me here. His brilliance allowed him to work within the existing system while expanding that system, at the same time. And I think partly that was because he made himself very useful in many ways, from his ideas of art and architecture to his inventions for war. So he just was able just to work it like this. I don't like this about him, but he does this. Or he does this, but I don't like that. He just walked that line, and he was a brilliant man. And then there's Michelangelo. His soul is every bit as astute and genius as Leonardo da Vinci. And he connected to spiritual channels of higher knowledge, and his art was seemingly brought down from above and through divine inspiration. His connections to the churches made him unmatched and in high demand. And to him, art was not an end in itself. Michelangelo suggests that through his art that we need to balance the impulses of the heart with the insights of the mind. He was an artist through and through, and he did art for the sake of art. Like Da Vinci, his brilliance only enhanced that which he already was. And now one of my favorites is there is this mysterious man, and probably one of the most misunderstood, and that was Nikola Tesla, not the car. A man plucked out of the future, a man out of time. He was so out there for his time. His expanded thinking was to give to the world rather than sell to the world. Imagine that. He conducted a range of experiments and inventions from AC power, alternating current, and the famous Tesla coil, and he created X-ray imaging and wirelessly controlled boats. And his greatest heresy being to pursue his ideas for free wireless lighting and worldwide wireless power, distributing it across the planet. Unbelievable. That is heresy in the modern age. In 1893, he made pronouncements on the possibility of wireless devices for communication. Cell phones. That was 130 years ago. And upon his death, many, if not all, of his research was stolen, of which we find much of the once missing and debunked research somehow resurfacing in today's technology. Very, very odd.
Yeah, it was, and think about it. It was their innovative thinking that led them in the direction of their passions and purpose, right?
Exactly.
It's a skill that isn't often taught or even explored. Again, should be in that high school class that I mentioned earlier, right? It's a unique form of creativity that helps to discover new ways to solve everyday, or we consider to be everyday problems. Essentially, it's an underlying theme in all our live streams, right? If you go back, our goal is to inspire innovative thinking and innovative living as your true authentic self in all the content we put out. Okay, if you go back and listen to our replays, okay, you'll notice that we give you tools, information, and even resources to recognize, analyze, and notice those patterns and trends in the world around you. And this is because so many great ideas stem from other great ideas that are already existing. Noticing the patterns. And the way you do that is you stay current with what's going on in the realm of reality creation and spirituality. And you can evaluate each new idea and concept, looking at the trends and patterns to determine what seems to work and what doesn't. So keep your awareness open for the patterns in what we call the infinity matrix. Okay? Keep your experiences fresh. Keep them fresh so do your best to try. We suggest that you do your best to try something new every day. Try something outside of your natural norms and expand your mind and experiences. Gain more knowledge in depth and width, meaning more range and deeper info. Go deeper into stuff. Right? These types of habits allow you to see reality from different perspectives, to break out of the jail of complacency. And if you've had a life where you fell into you fell into line with group thinking, then practice stepping out of that pattern and block out others' opinions or input. And then come up with your own ideas, your own opinions, your own hypothesis. Hypothesis is there a plural for hypothesis?
Hypotheses.
Hypothesi. I don't know what the plural for that is. And before considering what the group mind has established. Okay, give yourself time to do your own inner reflection, contemplation, and summary from the research you've done before blindly accepting the group narrative.
Exactly. It's very, very important. And on all of those that I've spoken of can be considered great titans of transformation. And then there's Dr. Bruce Lipton, being the most relevant in our sphere of influence. While his research concluded to run counter to the medical dictum of Francis Bacon in 1650. And that read, "The goal of science is to obtain knowledge that can be used to dominate and control nature." That's just ego talking. He stepped outside, Dr. Lipton did, he stepped outside that conditioned medical thinking and became a renegade in the role of controversy. Why did he do that? Why Why step down from teaching medical students and strike out on a career path that few had traveled? Well, simply put, Dr. Lipton had looked at the fixed medicine and discovered that things aren't as they seem to be or supposed to be, but rather they've been conditioned to be. And nor are they what he was told to teach the medicals in the medical schools, which resulted in instruction that further conditioned the students. He says, our health is not controlled by genetics. Conventional medicine is operating from an archaic view that we're controlled by genes. And this misunderstands the nature of how biology works. This echoes from a highly scientific point of view, what the intuitive and spiritual healers have been advocating for years, centuries. Your mind can and does contribute to both the cause and healing of whatever ails you. The dude was very misunderstood. And there are many more. So I'll finish with this last one. It's fascinating to learn and understand all of these awesome people. Elon Musk is another that didn't push novel ideas, like Gary said, but rather better ones that bucked the conventional, conditioned system. However, his growth thinking and perseverance was and is far superior to those who tried to challenge him. He can be summed up with this one quote, and I love this quote. He said, after my second or third trip back from Russia, I was like, whoa, there's got to be a better way to solve this rocket problem. That last sentence sums it up virtually everything that I've said today. There's got to be a better way to solve this problem, to live this life, to love this world, to be better today than I was yesterday. And I've delved into the history of these titans of transformation for a reason. They all have or had the passion to optimize themselves, their environment, their community, or humanity as a whole, which I might add is ours as well, which is why we've developed these programs, the Ultimate Badass Challenge coming up next month, our Master Lab series with Sync Portals, both coming in July. So I want you to think about it. Biohackers is about optimizing human performance. Galileo was about expanding astrophysics. Roz was about new ideas in medicine. Da Vinci pushed for better understanding for the world at large. Michelangelo to touch the spirit through his art. And Tesla made the world better with free communication and energy. And alas, Dr. Lipton to expand the consciousness of the body by identifying that it's not in the body. So use these examples and the 1,000 more that you can think of. You were born to do incredible things in your life, and a higher state of conscious language can help you unlock your next level. But it can be like peeling the layers of a holographic onion, each layer revealing something about itself and also about the one beneath and the one above. And we emphasize today to reach beyond random thought and choose a deeper piece of yourself. You'll then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of intelligence. You'll also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, and inner peace, all arise from beyond the mind. After all, the people who are crazy enough to believe that they can change the world, they're the ones who are actually doing it.
So Galileo, Da Vinci, Tesla, Lipton, and like Ross said, Then there's you.
Please.
Right? The potential is within each and every one of you. The common denominator of all these titans is that they didn't think the way the masses did. And there are probably an infinite amount of possible variables that could have contributed to the way each of them thought in the matrix they experienced, which means there's no one solution for everyone. Okay? All we can do is invite you into the corridor and dangle some skeleton keys to open up doorways to alternate possibilities. And ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to you to accept those keys and use them to hack the infinity matrix until you adopt the habit of creating the reality you desire. Then you can show up as an unstoppable force in your life and become a self-empowered icon. So here are 3 reality-expanding questions you could ask regularly to unlock realities in the infinity matrix. Number 1, what are the preconceived ideas I have about life? And you can change your life to money, to relationship, to whatever. Okay, what are the preconceived ideas I have about blank that currently hold me back in achieving the success I want? Really contemplate that and sit with this and do it regularly. Do this this inventory. Okay, what are the preconceived ideas that I have about blank that are currently holding me back in achieving the success I desire? That's the first one. Second question, what assumptions am I making into facts that might actually not be true facts about people, places, or things? So what are the assumptions that you've turned into facts that might not actually be true facts about the people, places, or things? Okay, and you'll be surprised how automatically we get into these modes of doing this, right? And we catch ourselves all the time. With one another, we catch ourselves with one another because we're in conversations, right? And we hold each other accountable to expanding beyond that. So what assumptions are you making about that fact, and turning it into a fact, right? What are the assumptions you're making, turning into facts that might not actually be true? Okay, number 3, what kind of limiting language patterns have you adopted as a framework for the reality of your experience? And if you want to go deeper into that, the live streams we did in January were all about the power of word and language and stuff like that. That'll kind of open up some perceptions on that as well. Okay, so what are the limiting language patterns that you've adopted as a normal framework for the reality you experience? That's the third question. Okay, and then make it a practice to ask those 3 questions over the next 7 days and notice what happens. Okay, just ask those 3 questions over the next 7 days on a regular basis about different scenarios, about different people, about different situations, about different experiences. Just do that. And then come back and share what your experiences. Share your hacking stories with us. We love to read about them. We get a lot of direct messages and stuff. Share it in the comments so other people see it as well. Okay. And so that's our stream for today. Remember, the replays will always be available in the private room for a limited time. We are looking at potentially removing them from there. So while you can get them there, go ahead and grab them, and you can join us on Down the Rabbit Hole Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, hackingtheinfinitematrix.com/rabbit hole. And and then join us there, and we will see you for a rabbit hole experience. Be sure, to to come with questions, to come and interact. You can just listen, or you can interact with us live. It's free. Okay, come and join us. We thank you for being here and spending time with us. We are truly grateful to share this time, space, and energy and experience with every one of you. It's truly our passion and our pleasure. So until next week, we dare you to be exceptional. And the best way to do that is to implement what you learn from what you implement. Till next time, be well, everyone.
See you next week. Bye-bye.